I'm now going to hand over to Matt from National Workers Alliance, a wonderful man with a lot of knowledge, who's done a lot of work in helping people to realise what is going on. Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. How's the sound? Can you hear me at the back? Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Veronica, for the anthem. I want to thank everybody for turning up today. In particular, I want to thank the women, the families, the children I see here. It takes a lot of courage to attend an event like this in the current political climate, especially in Victoria. And you can see the pushback we face from the left. For all of us who are here today, it is our responsibility to educate and motivate those who are not yet quite ready to understand the enormity of what we are facing as a nation and as a people. And they are not ready to address it because they are either distracted by the sports, the entertainment, the material things, or they are disillusioned. I speak to many people who believe that there is nothing they can do, they feel powerless, and that it's over. And my message to those who are demoralised is that it's never over. Because while our hearts still beat, while our hearts still pump the same blood as the men and women who built this nation and our ancestral homelands, it is never over. Do not be demoralised, even with the numbers today. Obviously the 31st we had tens of thousands. Today, do not be demoralised. It's always going to be a little more difficult in the current political climate. This is still a beautiful country. This is the greatest time to be alive. This is a beautiful life. And yes, we have a struggle, but it's a beautiful struggle, and we will win. My name is Matt Trihey, and I represent the National Workers Alliance, who are the organisers of today's event, the Second March for Australia. I'm just a tradesman who's had enough. I've had enough of watching what I regard as an illegitimate government destroy the country that I love for what seems my whole life. I've had enough of these parasites who sit in this building behind us, destroying this country. The National Workers Alliance is a nationalist organisation. We proudly advocate for the people of European descent, in the same way that every other ethnic group, racial group should and does advocate for themselves. We are advocating for our people. If you are of European descent, you are the descendants of the greatest navigators, explorers and nation builders in history. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you come from. For those of you who are distracted by Antifa, would you please make your way back to the front of Parliament? Do not be distracted. Please come back to Parliament. I want to be very clear on what today is about. And the national organisers were consistent with their message. There are 3 items on the flyer: stop mass immigration, protect our culture and heritage, and no foreign flags. I will address these 3 issues, and then I'm going to finish with what I believe is the solution, because today is about solutions. I'm going to start with the flags. Why do we only stand with these 3 flags? On the 3rd of September 1901, Australia's first Prime Minister, Edmund Barton, announced the winners of the national flag competition. There are 2 winners. There was the red flag, or the red ensign, for the merchant fleet. There was the blue flag, or the blue ensign, for naval and official purposes. The general public started carrying both of these flags as land flags. In 1908, there was a 7th point added to the Commonwealth Star, which sits under the Union flag. Australia has been sending its young men and women off to war since 1901 and the colonies prior, since 1860, First Taranaki War. Our first casualties were in the Sudan in 1885. 9 young men from the New South Wales infantry contingent never returned home. Our best and bravest lie in foreign fields. Since 1885, there has been 103,021 young men, which includes 103 females, die fighting for this country because they believed that this country was worth fighting for. 103,021. The vast majority of those deaths were under the red ensign and the blue ensign. These flags represent the blood sacrifice of our greatest generation. Both my grandfathers bled under these 2 flags. They saw their brothers in arms drown in their own blood at places like Villers-Bretonneux, Hamel, Pas-de-Calais, Zonnebeek, Torrencott, the Somme, Ypres, Shrapnel Valley, Lone Pine, Lynch Trench. They buried their comrades in some of the 800 cemeteries across 83 countries that are the final resting place of our greatest generation. What do we owe these men? What did they die for?
That's right. Us.
They died so that we may have a better future, and I'm not letting this government throw it away. Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, to destroy a people, you must first sever their roots. Nobody will take away our history. Nobody has the right to dishonour what these flags represent. The 3rd flag we stand with is the Eureka flag. That represents the 27 miners who died standing up against government's tyranny and oppression. And that sacrifice brought about the greatest democratic change in Australian political history. We had a golden era of democracy in this country. Mark Twain called it a victory won by a battle lost. That is why we only stand with these 3 flags. No foreign flags. I'm going to address the other 2 issues. The main point of this rally is we want an immediate moratorium on immigration. An immediate moratorium on immigration. The greatest lie that has ever been perpetrated upon a people is that diversity is a strength. Because the empirical evidence, the lived experience, and history shows the opposite is the truth. And there may be some confronting things said today. Some of you may not be ready to address it, but at some point you are going to have to, because what is coming is inevitable. The only way out of this situation is nationalism. Every single country that has been forced to embrace mass immigration has become more dangerous. They are prepared to sacrifice their own populations in the name of diversity, inclusion and multiculturalism. Any society, community, nation that has become more multicultural, more race or faith-based has become more dangerous. We see it in Australia every day. Crime in Victoria is at the highest level in recorded history. We see the machete attacks, we see the home invasions. We see the home invasions. I just want to live in a society where I don't have to worry about my family going to a shopping centre and being the victim of a knife crime or a machete attack. I just want to live in a society where I can go to my bed at night and not be the victim of one of the 22 home invasions a day that is happening now in Victoria. A 1,000% increase since 2016. 22 a day. And yes, we know about the increased crime, the violent crime, but what the government will not tell you about is the increase in sexual offences that are happening in this country, and they are also happening in our ancestral homelands of Europe.
Make Australia safe.
For any country with a population of over 10 million people, the 4 countries with the highest incidence of rape are number 1, the UK, number 2, Sweden, number 3, France, number 4, Denmark. This is what they have done.
Freedom for Australia!
This is what they have done. They have put our people, our females at risk. In England and Wales alone, In 2024, there were 71,667 rapes. And yes, I'm sorry, this is confronting, and it might be too raw. There are 196 rapes a day in England. 196 per day, a 480% increase since 2002. Sweden, Germany, 24 stabbings a day in Germany, increasing every year by 10%. 24 stabbings a day, 56% of those are done by non-German men. Between 2021 and 2023, 75% of the rapes in Germany were done by non-Germans. France, there are 100 rapes a day, a 170% increase in 2016. In Paris in 2023, 77% of the solved rapes were done by men of foreign origin. Do you understand what they're doing to our communities, our homelands? Because the same thing is happening here. The same thing is happening here. The government released their crime statistics quarterly, and I've been speaking about this for years. And I have to adjust my rhetoric every 3 months because it gets worse every 3 months, every year. It's getting worse and worse. Crime is at the highest levels in recorded history. But what the government won't tell you is that in the 12 months to December 2024, there was a 25% increase in rape in Victoria. 25% increase. This is publicly available information. It's easy to find, but the government are ignoring it. The media are ignoring it. Law enforcement are quiet. Why? Why are they sacrificing our females? A society, a community that will not protect its most vulnerable, its most precious, its females, is a society without honour. And it is up to us to push these people to make the change that we have to come back to the natural order of things. 68% increase in sexual offences against children in 12 months to 2024. There are 15 rapes a day in Victoria. 91% of rape victims are female. 14 women and girls are raped every single day in our state. Direct correlation with the increase in immigration. We know what the problem is.
Yes, we do.
They are destroying our children's future. Mass immigration destroys every single metric that is important to a healthy society. We see it in Victoria. The healthcare system is broken because we bring into Victoria in the 12 months to March 2024, 3,110 new arrivals every single week. 444 a day coming to Victoria. They all use the healthcare system because it's free. So if you're waiting 14 hours in emergency, it's because of mass immigration. And people are dying. 20 people died on ambulance ramping in an 18-month period because they didn't have the capacity because they are overstretched due to mass immigration. 33 people died because the 000 couldn't get ambulances out to their homes. So people are dying because the government pushes infinity migration. We have a 6-year wait for critical elective surgery in this state, longest in our history.
That's just a start.
And 1,394 people died. That is what they have done. I'm just going to finish with one more statistic, because this is nationwide. We are going the same way as Europe. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, their press release, sexual offences have increased in Australia, sexual assault, every year since 2011.
And machetes.
Every year. 14% increase, 13% increase 2021, 11% increase 2023. A 24% increase in a 2-year period. This is what they have done. Everything is under threat. The education system is broken because of mass immigration. The NAPLANE tests have just, this year in 2024, 30% of Victorian students across the state don't have literacy or numeracy at an acceptable level. 30%. 23% of Australian families don't speak English at home. We have a tribalised society that has lost its social cohesion. This is what immigration does. Human beings are tribal. The financial system is in crisis because of mass immigration. The people who lead us are so incompetent, the only solution is to bring in consumers, which undermines the labour market. Cheap labour. But they're consumers, so they bring them in to avoid a technical recession. Cheap labour is destroying this country, and the union stood up against it right up until they took it off their platform in the 1960s. The unions have betrayed us because they are allowing cheap labour to come in and take away your children's jobs. Education in crisis, financial crisis, housing crisis. The reason your children will never be able to buy a home unless you have generational wealth is because of mass migration. We see it every day. You go to a house inspection.
That's right.
Who's looking after our people?
That's right.
Who's looking after the founding stock of this country?
No one.
Nobody is. We need systemic change. If we accept the government demographically replacing the founding stock of this country, what sort of future does that leave for our children? Which gets me to the last point, what is Australian culture and heritage? Australia was settled and built by Europeans. That is just the reality. People will tell you they'll cope and say that we're a nation of immigrants. This country was settled and built by Europeans. Predominantly the Anglo-Saxons, the Anglo-Celts till 1945. After the war we brought in people from the Baltics, the Balkans, the Southern Europeans, the Mediterraneans, the Greeks, Italians. Europeans built this country. We are a European construct. And Australian culture and identity has a unique character which was forged by the harshness and challenges of this continent. The toughness and the resilience of the founding stock. Yes, we have a unique character, but it's founded in European values and European culture. We are a European people. The people who built this country our ancestral homes are Europe. I have a question to those. The most common narrative I get on immigration, and this is from both sides of politics, it's from the media, it's from the social media influencers. The narrative is that you are welcome to come to this country if you, quote, hold our values. How do we determine who holds our values as a collective? And this is where some of you may start to struggle with the rhetoric. Because per capita and group averages is what defines a society. If you bring in peoples from cultures that cannot and will not assimilate, that commit crime at a higher rate, then you have to adjust your immigration policy to suit that. If you bring in peoples that as a collective, that per capita, that on average are overrepresented in welfare, then you have to make hard decisions about your immigration policy. The year that I was born, according to AI, there were less than 300 million Africans. Today there are 1.5 billion. There are 1.45 billion Indians, 1.42 billion Chinese. If you include the rest of the subcontinent, there are over 5 billion peoples to the north and northwest of us who are not of a European culture, 5,000 million, of which we are bringing millions here. Under Albanese's second term, there will be over 2 million migrants come to this country in 2 terms of government. How do we determine if that 5 billion or that 2 million, which ones hold European values? And that's where you have to start addressing per capita and group averages, because we are watching our country be given away. And I want to make something else very clear. The migration policy that has been forced upon us, and every Western nation is suffering the same fate. And it's only countries that were founded by Europeans that have to address this. It was done against the will of the people. You need to understand that. We were never asked. And it started in 1945, when we were one of the first 51 signatories to the UN. The globalisation began then. The Marxist institution that is the UN, that has not introduced one policy that has been to our benefit. They shift away our manufacturing, they give our foreign aid away. Since 1958, when the Menzies government first repealed the dictation test, governments since have either repealed, amended or introduced new migration policy that has left us with an open border. It's a legal open border, but since 1975, anybody can come to this country. It doesn't matter whether your background is from a country where they have, the majority of the women have suffered female genital mutilation, or you are from a country that supports Sharia law. You are welcome. We have a legal open border. And look at what they're doing. We are losing our social cohesion. We are losing our civic engagement. We are more divided. There is less trust. We are more dangerous as a society because crime is going up. That is the main metric that all governments should be judged on. Civic safety. And the other main thing is whether a society is sustainable in the long term. I am sick to death of governments thinking for a 4-year period. What about 100 years? If we allow ourselves to be demographically replaced, What does it look like for our grandchildren? If we are an absolute minority, and I'm sure many of you here know that people of European descent are currently less than 10% of the global population. By 2100, according to current projections, we'll be less than 4%. What happens when we lose the absolute majority in these countries that our forefathers built? When we don't have the voting rights, how will that look for your grandchildren? We were never asked. So I'm going to talk about solutions quickly. And again, this may be some rhetoric that is quite confronting to many of you, but under the current system, there is no political solution. I hope for a soft revolution in some sort of direct democracy, but under this liberal democracy, we cannot vote our way out of this. So we need to support movements, and I don't care if it's not my movement, find a movement that represents your worldview, and you're going to have to make some sort of sacrifice. I mentioned Edmund Barton, the first Prime Minister. Edmund Barton said that creating a nation requires the will of the people. 124 years later, saving our nation will require the will of the people. It will require a will to power and a willingness to sacrifice. You are going to have to be prepared to sacrifice something, even if it's your time, your energy to educate and motivate. You need to put your resources into it, because the only way out of this is regime change or systemic change to a different form of democracy through constitutional change. And that only happens when what I call, or under the terminology of the French Revolution, when the second estate come on board. We are the third estate. We are the working class. They referred to them in the revolutionary times as the proletariat, the commoners, the peasants. I refer to us as the working class. The working class never brought change unilaterally. It only comes about when we have support of those from the second estate, which is those with money, influence, power. When the people from Victor start to realise that we are part of something greater. This is not about us. This is about the legacy that we leave, because we have a responsibility to those who left us in the greatest country on earth. We have a responsibility to those men and women who lie in foreign fields, who gave their life for this country. So when the second estate, when Victoria Police, when members of the military, when those with money, influence, power, the corporate leaders, when they decide that they've had enough, that there are things more important than their share portfolio or their property portfolio or what sort of car they drive, when they decide that we are part of something bigger, then we will get together and take down the first estate. I'm going to finish with something by the man that I regard as the greatest Irishman to ever live. I have Irish blood on my father's side. A people that fought the British for 753 years. And I'm sure there were times when they were disillusioned, demoralised, but they never gave up. They never gave up, and the battle for Ireland is still not over. Ireland will be free. Erin go, brah. They are suffering the same problems we are. Patrick Pearse was the leader of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. In 1916, he took the Dublin Post Office, raised the tricolour and the Republican flag, and held off the British, who were 20,000, for a week. They succumbed to the numbers, and in May 1916, Padraig, his brother Willie, and 13 others were executed. They made the blood sacrifice for their people, for their nation. Padraig wrote a poem called The Rebel. And I believe the last stanza is just as relevant today as it was in 1916. And I say to my people's masters, beware. Beware of the thing that is coming. Beware of the risen people who shall take what you would not give. Did you think to conquer the people, or that law is stronger than life, or than men's desire to be free? We shall try it out with you. Ye that have harried and held, ye that have bullied and bribed, tyrants, hypocrites, liars. And so I say, in October 2025, to those people who see themselves as the political and cultural elites, who believe themselves to be our masters, I say beware of the thing that is coming. Because some people will never accept what they are doing to the country that we love. And some people will never give up. In the words of Padre Pierce, Shoki Allah, our day will come. Thank you for attending today.